Hello everybody and welcome back to LRM, where today we look at the F1 Driver Academy Series, an all-female driver series starting from 2023. We look at, is this genuine progress for women in motorsport and as a route to Formula One, or is this a PR stunt, something that Formula One felt they had to do as part of their, image of progress, or is it genuinely going to help women get a leg up in motorsport and actually have the opportunities that the men do through Formula 3, Formula 2, and of course into Formula 1. So we're going to go into that in detail, but we're going to kick off by looking at what the series is and how it's going to work. Before we do that, please make sure to subscribe on the bottom right hand side if you are new to the channel, and hit a like on the video if you do enjoy it. And in the comments, let me know all of your thoughts on this new series, on the Driver Academy, what you think it's going to do. Do you think it's going to genuinely help women into motorsport? And also, as you can see, the question just here, we've also got news about Daniel Ricciardo we're going to be getting into later on in the show, and discussing whether he's making the right move in his apparent decision to rejoin Red Bull. So we will get into that afterwards as well. But first of all, we're going to go into this new female-led driver series. So the series will consist of 5 teams run by current F2 and F3 teams, each entering 3 cars to make up a 15-car grid. The first season will comprise of 7 events with 3 races each, amounting to a total of 21 races, plus 15 days of official testing, with the 2023 calendar set to be released in due course. Formula One subsidised the cost of each car with a budget of €150,000, while the drivers cover the same amount of costs, a fraction of the usual cost in comparable series, with the team covering the rest of the budget. So that on the face of it, it sounds quite good. When you say comparable series, though, do remember that this is a feeder series for the W series, which is a comparable series to F3. So this is in no way comparable to those formulas at the moment. As I say, this is being considered a stepping stone to either the route towards W series or F3, F2, F1, right? So, and we move on then to comments made by Stefano Domenicalli. So everyone should have the opportunity to follow their dreams and achieve their potential, and Formula One wants to ensure we are doing everything we can to create greater diversity and routes into this incredible sport. That is why I'm delighted to announce the F1 Academy that will give young female drivers the best chance to fulfill their ambitions through a comprehensive program that supports their racing careers and gives them everything they need to move into F3 and hopefully to F2 and then the pinnacle of Formula One. The more opportunity there is, the better, and this is designed to provide another route for the drivers to succeed. So let's get this out the way. So that's all the main details. Is it genuine? Are we genuinely going to see female drivers on the back of this Driver Academy achieve success through and get into Formula 3 and then start getting their points licenses and progress through the ranks up to Formula 1? The answer to that, of course, is hopefully. Hopefully we're going to see that. Hopefully it does genuinely work and we'll take them at their word, right? I have questions, though. If their genuine ambition is to get female drivers into Formula 3, 2 and 1 through this process, we already have the W Series, and this has been considered a feeder series to the W Series as well, which means, of course, it's a step below that, and which is, as I say, about similar, apparently, to F3. So my question then would be, if the aim is to get female drivers into Formula One long term, and they want to see based on this, they want to have female drivers in F3 in the next 2 to 3 years. Why is Jamie Chadwick not already in Formula 3 or Formula 2? She's in the W Series already, which this series is going to be feeding, right? So people who perform well in this will take a step up to the W Series. Jamie Chadwick has been absolutely smashing the W Series without any real competition for years now. She is phenomenal in the series. She's clearly better than her competition, head and shoulders. So if there was ever a candidate that you would take and go, she's clearly too good for the competition she currently has, she needs to come over and race against the guys in F3 and F2. She's proven that she's good enough. If this is what this is supposed to do, Jamie Chadwick should already be there. And this is why I have a doubt about the legitimacy of this process, because if Jamie Chadwick isn't being considered good enough to be given an opportunity in F3 or F2, if we're saying F3 is similar to the W Series, how are we meant to believe that drivers coming from a lesser series in less powerful cars are going to be given that opportunity to go from the driver academy, which I'm all for. I think this is a fantastic idea, but it needs to be realized into, they need to follow up on their actions. They need to give genuine opportunities, and we need to see women genuinely get that step into Formula 3, and this needs to work for them to prove it's legitimate. But if it is legitimate, if they really do want to see women in the Formula Series, why is Jamie Chadwick not already there? I can't think of a reason for someone who is in a better car, driving in a better series, completely dominating her competition, winning title after title, is not already being brought over to that series. Because what more can any woman who comes through this new series, this new academy, they will not be able to do more than what Jamie Chadwick has done. So if she isn't already being drafted in and picked ahead of the guys who are getting those opportunities in F3, I struggle to see what the drivers in this series are going to be able to do to outperform and do even better than Jamie Chadwick's done, to go, I am a superstar, you need to hire me. I worry that no one's going to take that punt unless they're forced to, and I don't think that's the way it should be. Of course it should be based on talent, and cream rises to the top, and that's what's happened with Jamie Chadwick. She's risen to the top, she's proven she's better than all of the people around her, and she needs a bigger challenge, and that challenge should be F2. You know, I think the W Series, if this Academy Series is a stepping stone to F3 as a first step, and the W Series, their level, then Jamie Chadwick should be drafted into F2. She's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that she is a quality driver. And she's proven that she's too good for the sport that she's currently in, right? If you went and put Verstappen, Hamilton, or any of the F1 drivers back into F2 and F3, you'd have to suspect they would probably, over the course of a season, dominate the field. And that's why, because they were better. They earned their way out of, you know, those series in general. The F1 drivers who've gone through F3 and F2 have come out of it because they've performed and been either the best or very near the top of those series. And Jamie Chadwick's been there. She's doing it year in, year out. Where is her opportunity to go to F2 and then prove that she belongs? Because she would be the perfect test case. You put her into F2, you see if she can handle it. Because if she can't, there's a big question around then, what do we need to do to get women to the right level to come into F2 and then compete? We need her to go in there, show that she can do it, and be that positive test case for women in motorsport. We can compete, we can do this, we can reach F1. But because she isn't doing it, because they aren't pushing her into F3, F2 and F1 through that process, I worry that this is going to turn into a feeder series for the W Series, and it's going to stop there. And we're all going to talk about this now, and it's going to be big news now, and then they're going to have that, like, oh, it's been 2-3 years, people have kind of forgotten, they're not really thinking about it, they're not going to realise that it's not happening, it's not, women aren't getting into F3, they are all being funneled into the W Series as, you know, W Series drivers leave, and then the driver from the Academy Series they've set up goes in there instead, and maybe they're just hoping at that stage we might not notice. But I think mainstream journalists need to be asking these questions, and saying to F1, how are you going to guarantee that women are going to get genuine opportunities at drives in Formula 3? And if you are serious about having women in those formulas, why is Jamie Chadwick not there already? What more could she have done in the most recent years to actually put herself in a position to get into those formulas? So I'm seriously skeptical about the legitimacy of this process. And I think more questions need to be asked by people closer to the sport than me. And as I say, mainstream journalists ask these questions and put them on the spot around how it's genuinely going to work, because it's really easy to come out and say, yeah, all right, they are doing the right thing. And I'm really happy they've taken this step. But because of how things are at the moment, the fact they didn't really support W Series when it was struggling for money or funds or help them find sponsorship, And the fact that, of course, this is a feeder series for the W Series. So what if the W Series fails? What if the W Series fails to find funding? That's another route then for this driver academy, that they're trying to produce female drivers to potentially go into the W Series. What if that W Series collapses? That's even less opportunity for women, another formula they can't go to. So I think Formula One needs to do more to invest and support the W Series as well. And, we covered that on a previous video. But certainly this is a step in the right direction. But we need to see action. We need to see it lead to something. And we need to see genuine questions put to Formula One, to Stefano Domenicali, and the powers that be, of how is this going to work, and how legitimate is this as a route to Formula 3 when someone who is already in the equivalent of a Formula 3 car still can't seem to find a way in to Formula 2, or even, you might even say to Jamie, look, come over to Formula 3, do it here for a season, and then we'll shift you up to Formula 2 if you perform. Just something, a step in the right direction. We needed to see. We need to have that. And of course, I think she's the perfect candidate because she's just so unbelievably better than the other people in the W Series. And hopefully we get a flood more Jamie Chadwicks. And of course, the benefit of doing this academy is that we're going to have a bigger line of female drivers coming into the world of motorsport. And then we're going to find those gems. We're going to find drivers like Jamie who can come in and can smash it. And we're going to build up the base quality of female drivers in the sport. And that's fantastic. And then again, we just need to make sure that the opportunities are being given to them. So to the mainstream journalists of the world, go and ask those questions, genuine interviews with people like Stefano Domenicali, and find out actionably, how are they going to put this into place? How are they going to ensure that the best drivers through this academy, through the W Series, are actually going to get those opportunities to rise through the formulas, Formula 3, Formula 2 and Formula 1? That's the question I would ask. And as I say, this is fantastic news on paper, but we need to see it come to something in reality. And I watch with interest to see if that will happen over the next couple of years. I say, let me know what you think is going to happen. Do you think it's genuinely going to be an opportunity? Do you think, like me, that actually Jamie Chadwick's an example of why this potentially isn't going to go the way that they're suggesting it will? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, the other bit of news today, we had within 5 minutes, we had news reports coming out saying Daniel Ricciardo has joined Red Bull as reserve driver. And then we had literally 5 minutes later, Red Bull distanced themselves from Daniel Ricciardo as reserve driver. So what's going on there? I think the answer is he has agreed to join them. Helmut Marko made it quite clear in his statement that he believes Ricciardo is going to be their third driver next season. But I think what's happened is the contracts are not signed. No deal is officially actually in place. It's at the moment just conversations that have happened between Helmut Marko and Daniel Ricciardo. And Helmut Marko is kind of famous for not really having a filter. So fair enough. He is probably telling the truth, and I do expect Daniel Ricciardo to take up this third driver role, which, by the way, going back to a video from yesterday, is fantastic news for Mick Schumacher, because that could potentially give him the Mercedes, leave him free to get the Mercedes reserve driver role, which would be brilliant for him. But staying with Ricciardo, if he goes back to Red Bull as a reserve driver, Helmut Marko was talking about him doing like their special events, their Red Bull events, him being a big name driver who can go and do those sessions where they have like Formula One cars from the past going down city streets, and as I say, Red Bull events, which they can use him as a big name to go to those events. And that would potentially mean that the main drivers, Perez and Verstappen, could avoid some of those appearances, which I think for them would be good as well. So I can certainly see why it would work for Red Bull as a whole, why it would work for Daniel Ricciardo, of course, because he gets to stay in a big team. But there is something about going back to Red Bull and being not even the second driver to Verstappen anymore, the third driver in that team. I think there's something about it which doesn't sit right. I think if you'd gone to Mercedes, it's a different outfit, and it's a different experience. And I could put it up to, of course, he's taken a year out, and an enforced year out, and it's expanding his horizons, working with different teams, learning new things. Going back to Red Bull, yeah, fair enough. They have changed quite a bit in the obviously with taking on the engine powertrain department and making different changes behind the scenes as an organisation in Formula One than they were when Ricciardo was at the team. but it just doesn't, to me, I just think if I was Daniel Ricciardo, I wouldn't want to go back to where I was before, and not only go back to the team, but go back in a worse position than I was when I left. I think it's a real admission of his career being in a really bad place to go back, not and he'll be sat there watching Max Verstappen challenge for world championships while he's sat there as a reserve driver, the guy that basically put him out of a job in the first place at Red Bull. I don't know. For me, I don't think it's the right move for him. I would have liked to have seen him go to Mercedes. Some of you may be keen to get Ricciardo back to Red Bull and think it's a good place for him. I certainly think he's a good driver to have there for them. I think from Red Bull's perspective, it's fantastic. I definitely don't question it from their perspective. But from Ricciardo's perspective, I think just mentally there's something about it, going back where you were before and having to play third fiddle to Perez and Verstappen. It to me, I don't know. I don't think that it would be my first choice. Maybe it's his only choice, and he just doesn't want to give up on the grid entirely. Maybe he does feel that if his name slips out of the sport completely, it'll be much more difficult for him to come back than if he's just somewhere, a reserve driver somewhere where he can be around the paddock, he can have those conversations, he can try and angle for a move in 2024, and he's free to do that. Maybe it is just like he will take anything to stay around the F1 circus, so that he has be able to have those conversations and stay within the sport and stay relevant. Maybe that's it, and if that works for him, fantastic. I'm happy for him if he's happy. But for me, there's something weird about it. But we'll find out soon, I'm sure. I fully expect it to have an official announcement, if not today, because obviously the news coming out today, but I reckon over the weekend or in the next few weeks, we'll have an official confirmation by Red Bull that Ricciardo is joining them as their reserve driver. So let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Do you think Danny Ric should go back to Red Bull as their reserve driver? Do you think that's a good move for him? Do you think it's a good move for Red Bull? And of course, what do you think about this F1 Driver Academy series? First of all, is it good? Are you happy that they've implemented it? Do you think it's a step in the right direction? Do you think it is a PR stunt and it's not really going to lead to any improvements? Or do you think it's genuine progress in the world of Formula One and female motorsport stars in the world of F1? Do you think it is good progress in that regard? Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm just going to thank you so much for watching the video. Hope you have a great day. Goodbye.